Welcome to Passionate Society. Vanessa Mariano here. There's a lot of people that have been following me for a while. I've been more present in the Facebook group, but welcome today. I have Kay Urlich here. She's a beautiful, talented Croatian author and healer. And we've decided together to come here in front of a lot of people. It's quite vulnerable to get in front of the business page. I haven't been in front of the business page for a long time, actually, even though I've been posting here and there. But we've decided that, and I've known Kay for a few years now. For a few years. We met in a women's circle. Yep. And I recognize and I feel and see how, you know, the gift that she has and the way that she's been bringing healing to the world through her books and her message and her direct work one-on-one with people is so relevant. Also with, you know, how I love to support, you know, humanity, whether men or women. So, Kay, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my work developed from my own illness. I had chronic fatigue many years ago, so I started going to alternative therapists. Just cut a long story really short. Then I went travelling overseas a lot, seeing shamans and gurus, and did a lot of work on myself for many years. Then I came back to New Zealand and I started getting pictures of people that I was working with. So I started getting pictures of, as I massaged hands and feet, of what was happening to that person. As I continued the massage, the picture would change as the healing progressed. So I did that for a few years. And then people asked, where's the books? So I started writing books. Then I realized that we have 4 energy fields in the human body, and we access those through the hands and the feet. So while it originated in the human body, I realized that these are actually fields in society. So we're going to talk a little bit about the fields over the coming weeks, how they relate to us, how you can access them, and how they relate to society and the problems we have in society now. So I'll just briefly show you. So this is very low tech, and so we're looking for questions on what interests people and how we can help you understand your own spirituality better and access what you want in your life to make your life better. So we start off, if you just look at this, that would be, where are we? That would be the right foot. This would be the left foot. So as I access them, so we generally believe that we have a left and a right brain, a male and a female brain. But what I'm going to introduce to people is that we have a spiritual male and female brain. So it's really important. So I hope you can see that, but we'll be going into this more. Yeah. So what I want to start with is this, what I call the spiritual male brain, and how that relates to suicide, to pee addicts, and is our most precious possession in connection to our inner child and to our highest consciousness. So this is absolutely paramount to access this and know this. And generally speaking, if someone is in trauma, hold their right hand, gently massage it, and that helps to comfort that inner child area. So I see that as, I might see it stuck up high on a mountain, I might see it in a cage underwater, but these are parts of us that we suppress, which we need to bring in more love and compassion to this aspect. So those people who are feeling fragile, it is to bring this into yourself, to acknowledge often in the deepest darkness that we have this most beautiful consciousness waiting for us to nourish and to generally be kind to ourselves. So we'll be looking at this a lot closer. So what happens is also with somebody who is like schizophrenic, so we're born as a baby and we come down into into this world. So as people get to teenagers, young men in particular, many are not relating to living in this world. So what we want to do is bring more of the female energies in, and bear in mind this is all in us, it's all in ourselves, and mostly bringing through this highest consciousness of the female energy. So generally speaking, that male power is gained from accessing this vulnerable aspect of yourself. Female power is gained from accessing this bold aspect of the female energy. And again, I have to remind people that this is in all men and women.
Sorry, Kay, just one thing. So you're saying that the vulnerable part of us is actually part of the spiritual masculine?
Yes.
And the boldness is part of the feminine energy, the spiritual feminine? Yes,
exactly. And this I write about particularly in A Path to Peace in the Middle East, that many people have read, that I did put out free on Peace Through Compassion on Facebook. So my page, Peace Through Compassion, so it's not available now. It's available as a book on Amazon, but I did put it out free, and a lot of people do know about it. So what is paramount now in this time of changing paradigm? So we live in this paradigm. I'll just show you.
Want me to hold anything up?
Oh, that's all right, I'll just do it. So we live in a paradigm now. This is where, up here, we have this active and masculine. So what we're doing is we're moving from that field. This is changing. Okay, can you lift it?
Yeah.
And I'll find something else. So I do have another one. Oh, here it is. Yeah. But what we want to do on a global level is change it to this. So we're switching paradigms. We're going from this paradigm, we're shifting. This is the whole movement that's happening now. We're shifting into more of a earth-female element.
So we're going from active, hierarchical, masculine logic, competitive, independent, closed, to nurturing, feminine, intuitive, passive, stillness, interdependence, which is the contribution within the community of helping one another. So, which is the opposite of obviously like competition. Then you've got the transparent, inclusive, and that's where you include people in groups and you know invitations, which a lot of that was lost on the way. And then compassion, protector, divine love and empathy, and innocence, authority, inspiration, and mercy.
Exactly. The other thing too, what is helpful is to actually tick this off, which we have on the Facebook pages, tick that off, and then go to the Aotearoa Vision page on Peace Through Compassion net, and there you'll find, where are we?
So you shared that in the group, didn't we?
There you'll find, you can tick it off and find out which is your strongest field and which fields that you could open up more or help to work on. Now, another way of doing this is painting as you paint. And even if you held this in front of you and started painting in these fields to see what colours and what pictures you would draw or come up with that. The other thing is noticing where you have pain in different sorts of parts of your body, where you knock yourself.
Sorry, Kay, I just want to stop you right there. What did you say about the painting and the colours? Are you saying that you can connect to these energy fields and then you can allow sort of like this energy to come through you and then you will bring the colours through on canvas?
Or saying often just painting, if we don't know, particularly with a young person, to paint, even looking at where the colour is on the sheet of paper is often can be quite a good indicator of different things.
So every colour stands for like a particular energy field, or?
Well, I found I look at people's paintings and notice where they're dark and where they're light. So I mean, this is not science, of course, but all these things interest me. And you find if you use this, no matter what relationship you are in, or what work you're doing, is to check which field you're actually activating to see whether you're working holistically. So many people think they are, but actually they're still working in that mindset of that lower
the hierarchical and the
mindset.
competitive nature, and
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was listening to you, but no, that makes so much sense. And this is why a lot of the people that I feel that are in the field, they're not exactly, the work that they're doing with people. What I find, and from my own experience, is that they're not necessarily being healed. They're actually being encouraged to be more like in that same kind of space, operating from that same kind of space and vortex.
Sure, and we see this with science as well. I kind of get on Elon Musk's case a bit in my writing and that, but going to Mars isn't going to save humanity. We need to connect with these female energies here with our heart. It's going, so it's very much, this field is very much working from the mind, and we need to shift from the mind to the heart energy. So this is very much, again, what is happening now. The shift is happening. But we still, of course, the loudest voices come from this field. So it's about talking up, standing up in this field. This is so important. This is why I totally support the Me Too movement, because it's standing up in this field and strengthening this field. And it's in transition now. It's about women's voices. So while they may sound negative right now, they are holding a space for women to speak up about the heart energy.
Sorry, sorry.
No, yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, how do you see the feminine rising? So you're sharing about how the feminine rising is going to be influencing humanity. When you look at, and it can be clear, like it's kind of easier to understand it when we look at this kind of graph.
Sure.
But then, how has the feminine energy been affected by the lack of spiritual masculinity, or the masculine energy in our subconscious?
That is such a good question, because this is, for me, has really been the foundation. So while our paradigm is here, the main paradigm, we have religion, finance, that has all been hierarchical.
Politics as well?
And politics, yes. All these things, it's Mark Zuckerberg, it's people building great monuments to themselves, really, in a very hierarchical sense. So you also get where they give to charity. They appear very compassionate. So I've worked with many, many men and women who are working in this field. They give to charity. They're very generous, a lot of them. But what has happened in their own energy fields, they're missing this field and they're missing this field. They're very active in this field and that field. But they still haven't, instead of empowering this field, there's this disconnect where they're giving charity. So there's this is very much an ownership. So it sounds good when you're giving charity, but what you actually could do is empower people to have their own income, So
being more inclusive and all those qualities. So one thing I wanted to say to you, because speaking from experience and what I've seen as well, okay, is that why what is manifesting is a lot of successful men that are either single or unable to sustain or be the same person, or be connected to themselves within their own relationship. And this is happening again with women, where they're very extremely successful, and they're very much in the dominant energy of career and orientation but they're lacking that part in them where they are connected to the essence and their form and their femininity, and then that's got other repercussions of like being unable to have children, being affectionate, and having all that disconnection to their children.
And that is about activating this field. Sorry, I seem to be losing my voice, but it is about activating that field. That is also, as I mentioned earlier, I think about schizophrenia and suicide. We put so much pressure on young men to conform to this field, and our top schools are probably the worst for this.
Religion as well, I think there's a lot of pressure on men.
Education, religion, finance is just all focused on this field. What is happening is a lot of young men, and I talk about suicide here, is that they cannot connect. I've seen pictures of images of them looking over and not liking what they see. So the mind splits, you get schizophrenia, you get suicide, you just get this very big pressure on men to live up to the image of what men should be, when in fact men are all these things. Men are intuitive, feminine. But this has completely been crushed from the male language. Men have been brought up that they can be curious, they can have inspiration. Mercy is debatable. That's, if it doesn't fit in with here, then it's probably not activated so well. So this is what the pressure men have been put under, and what boys are put under every day, to be a boy, to not dance, to not sing, and to not activate particularly these fields. So we want to be telling our boys to be using these fields, activating these wonderful energies within themselves. And there's not so much you have to do them actually to be feminine, but it's to be feminine, to open that field, that energy within yourself, and to allow yourself to feel
all the time, aren't they? They're always
so it's a terrible thing.
And they don't know how to open up. They don't really have big conversations
Exactly.
between men. They're actually very competitive. They're very what's the word? They're quite competitive against each other, aren't they?
Yeah, well, that's the programming that's been put in. We've all been put into it. You can actually download Peace Through Compassion, I Belong to Love, which that talks about a spiritual experience I had where I was taken by love and told I belong to love and to go where love leads me. So I go where love leads me, and I wrote that book. You can download that free on Peace Through Compassion. Just put in your number and what have you. Yes, so
I have a question for you, Kay, and I'm sure that the viewers are going to find this very interesting, and it was part of the first post where I introduced actually the fact that we were having an interview together or a conversation. Mm-hmm. It was about the Maori connections and the Maori roots and the tribal, and what effect does this energy, this tribal energy, and how it's connected to the feminine rising, how has this distorted humanity with the lack of it, and how can it progress our healing on the planet and in our individual lives?
Sure. Well, that comes along again with this aspect here on the global scale, that is part of the feminine energy. And bear in mind that feminine energy has masculine energy in it. So it doesn't mean that Maori, for instance, are only in their feminine, very much in their masculine and the feminine, but the societies are more feminine based, they're more community based, they're more connected. So it's about connecting, and it means different things in different ways in the way we use it. So there's the global ways we use it, and there's the personal way that the energy fields affect what we do and how we think. So in an ideal world, we would be living like this and open to all our energy fields, just they would be connecting. So in the talks we do, we're going to talk about how they connect and the difference they make, that each field makes to the other field. So that is the ideal situation.
Can I just see this? Yeah. Inspiration, mercy, innocence, curiosity. That's a male spirit. And then, yeah. So you feel that what is lacking is mostly the spiritual components of the...
So we're separated, we talk about separation. It's the fields that are separated. It's not that men and women or cultures are separated, it is the fields. So it is the fields starting within us and taking that to global levels. So we know that terrorists, it's coming out a lot now that terrorists, most of them that have been caught in the United States have been domestic abusers. So again, it's very much around this inner separation and connecting with ourselves, and with ourselves, particularly with compassion, So bringing compassion in those inner fields, that when we're depressed or suicidal, that within us, no matter how dark it gets, there is a spot, there is a place within us that is soft, gentle, and sweet, and we must to embrace that and be with that and hold that space within the dark times, because many people are just going through that, and it is such a big thing in New Zealand that we must support them.
It's also great in New Zealand is really high. A lot of young people, they've lost complete connection to, just the meaning of, connection and origin and, family, because everyone's just so wrapped up and they're like really up here about, just chasing the wrong thing and being disconnected from, the values and just always chasing.
I'm always a bit suspicious of people who are always happy, because it's just not normal to be always happy.
Always be on that high?
Yeah, and
always being positive or always being in that?
It is normal. It is normal to be angry. It's normal to feel hurt. These feelings are all normal. And when we start saying that they're not okay, take a pill for this, we're actually blocking very deep feelings that take us to deep spiritual places. So often, that dark night of the soul is a really deep, beautiful thing that will take us somewhere. So it's about not being afraid of how you're feeling and
embracing all of those emotions and the hurts and the pains and there might be emotions of like hate and blame and all of and judgment. That's all part of it, and it's important that we also accept ourselves within that space, but then know how to kind of like step back and see ourselves going through that emotion as opposed to identifying ourselves with it.
Exactly. We are not the pain, we're not the anger,
we're not the pain, but we need to allow it to come through us, to move through us, so that then we can release it or at least work with it. And then when we see it coming up in other people, then we know how to witness it as well, as opposed to like react and activating it even more, and like remaining in that and just kind of feeding that energy field as well even more.
And I love that word you used about triggering. That what triggers us, and it's really hard right now to have a conversation on Facebook because people are so triggered by anything, and so having conversation is just awesome. So get in, have conversations, and talk to us. We would love to talk about this some more, and we will be back next week to do some more.
Allow yourself to be open to, exactly like I was saying, just having these conversations. Bring questions forward. We're happy to answer them, or even to start a conversation about it. Anything else that you want to?
Not right now. Okay. Just it's a matter of what people want to talk about.
So we had a few people coming on live. So we had Leah. I know she's a healer and yoga teacher. And Gina, I've seen her as well. She comes. I see her often in Feminine Society group as well. But if you do watch the replay, let us know. So if you can just put #replay if you're watching the replay. I know a lot of other people and healers that I've sent the heads up to in regards to this interview, that were really fascinated with the topic.
So fill this out, and go to Peace Through Compassion. Where are we? And then pick the qualities that are here to find out which field you are most strongest
or weaker in. And that way it gives you kind of like a roadmap to see, how you can start to ask or gain support.
So you find that at Peace Through Compassion, and go to the Aotearoa page, and those illustrations and answers are there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So again, don't forget to ask any questions if you want to know how my work relates as well to what, just ask as well. We're aware that people are coming from all different sorts of life and backgrounds and knowledge about spirituality.
And I will get my computer page going next time. We're going to have both pages running, but I couldn't get on the computer, so we will sort that out next time.
Right. Watch the replay, Yvonne. I think you came a little bit late. And we will be on next week again. Same time, same day. And remember to bring your questions forward. It's time to start to have honest and open conversations. We've all witnessed either, family, friends that has either committed suicide or
ADP, that's so common. I wrote about that about 15 years ago, about the dangers of this because of what I was seeing in the energy fields. So it just separates that spiritual male child energy within us and takes away consciousness. That's why P is so brutal. There is no higher consciousness there.
Thank you, Kay. And also, not to mention the damage that is done as well with the people around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you're doing that. So,
exactly. So thank you for being here. It certainly is a journey. If you have any questions, do bring them forward, and I will see you again next week.
Thank you, Vanessa.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kay, for coming forward. Thank you. Bye.